Pardon my stupidity, and welcome back to the Pardon My Stupidity show. I'm Patrick Kane, and today is Veterans Day. Do you know anybody that's a veteran? If so, hopefully you said something nice or you did something nice for them, because quite honestly, they've earned it. For me, I know plenty of vets in my life, and there's only really one guy that I think about and wish that was still here today so that I could have a beer with him, and that's my dad. So today is for my dad. This episode is for him, and hopefully it's not a garbage show. So, in his honor, I will set up his little hats. Let's see if that works. There's one and two. Love my dad. I miss him. I wish him all the best. I hope wherever he is these days, hopefully it's amazing. Um, it's also almost 9:40 at night. But either way, let's roll. Let's try and get back on the show, and let's get things back moving as a cohesive thing. We'll try. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, welcome to PMS, boys and girls. It's Friday, November 11th, and on today's show, we will be discussing the suspension of Kyrie Irving, underrated NFL teams that deserve way much more respect than they're getting, and the ongoing scandal that follows Brett Favre, and as always, local Philadelphia fan, we will be saying goodbye to the Philadelphia Phillies season, but we got to thank them for at least a fun run. But today, let's start the show off properly. Today, we begin the show with the acquisition of Twitter by Elon Musk, which began back on April 14th earlier this year and concluded on October 27th last month. Elon Musk began buying shares of the American social media company Twitter back in January of 2022, eventually becoming the company's largest shareholder by April, with a 9.1% ownership stake in the company. Twitter then invited Musk to join its board of directors, which Musk at first accepted before subsequently declining. Back on April 14th, he made an unsolicited offer to purchase the company for $43 billion, to which Twitter responded with a poison pill strategy, is what they called it, from what I was researching, to resist a hostile takeover. Back on April 25th, Twitter's board of directors unanimously accepted Musk's buyout, his offer of $44 billion, with the company set to be taken private. Musk stated that he planned to introduce new features to the platform, make its algorithms open sourced, combat spam bot accounts, and promote free speech. After a back and forth of will he buy or won't he buy or whatever you want to potentially talk about, he faced a potential lawsuit. The deal was then closed on last month, right before Halloween, October 27th, with Elon Musk immediately becoming Twitter's new owner and CEO. He then fired several top executives, including previous CEO Parag. I don't even know how to say his name. Parag Agarwal. Reception to, I don't even know how to say it. The buyout. Either way, let's move on. The buyout has been mixed with praise going towards Musk's planned reforms and vision for the company. However, criticism over fears of potential criticism of the potential criticism of potential rise of misinformation, disinformation, harassment, and hate speech of the platform. Right-wing conservatives and Republicans have largely praised the purchase, while left-wing liberals and Democrats and former and President Twitter employee, current Twitter employees have voiced their concerns about Musk's intentions. So basically, the situation at hand is that Elon Musk, and again, this is across the board about everybody. This isn't just the people that work there. This isn't just Elon Musk and all of his things. A lot of people aren't happy. A lot of people are thinking that he is going to shut down the social media platform, or people are starting to think that maybe he's going to start charging the social media platform for people to use it. However, just like anything, because it's 2022, obviously politics have to get involved. Uh, and Musk being such said weirdo, uh, you know, I mean, quite honestly, what did you expect him to be as far as a buyout is concerned? If he is a type of individual, like think about it this way: he's the man that's in charge of Tesla. Tesla, the very first vehicle that came out. Well, I shouldn't say the first vehicle. I'm not really privy on all of the ins and outs of Tesla. But that being said, when the car first came out, there was a lot of headache. I don't want to say headaches, but a lot of clapback about like the horn, because he basically is a child, like a prepubescent child that finds fart humor entertaining. He finds it wouldn't shock me if you said the word boobies in front of him and he giggled. Like he created if you honk the horn, you could air out a fart noise, and based off fart noises, and that caught a whole bunch of things. I mean, the same goes for as every car is registered. Not just Tesla, but every vehicle. Every vehicle has a model, whatever. This is the the CRV, or this is the Nissan Z or X, or whatever you want to call it. Tesla ended up, well, not necessarily Tesla, yes, but Elon Musk is the guy that said, "Oh, we're going to have the Model E, and then we're going to have the Model S, and we're going to have the Model X." And it's like, okay, so you literally coined and termed the different models of Tesla to have SEX. So I don't really understand why a lot of people are really shocked that somebody that is stupid enough, well, I don't want to say stupid enough, that is so goofy enough, so weird enough to create car names to spell out the word sex, why you were shocked that he's going to start this whole mass firing of individuals. The people that work for Tesla, or Twitter, excuse me, the people that work for Twitter, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of and ultimately, and I already said it, has to do with inclusivity. He is very anti shutting down people's right to free speech. And I think, and I could be wrong, but I think a lot of that has to do with Twitter shutting down President Donald Trump when they banned him from the Twitter world and they shut him down. So he went through, bought the entire company, and started, nope, you're done. And ultimately, that's what a lot of people are very concerned about. I don't, personally, for me, it's social media. It doesn't matter if it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. At the end of the day, for me, I don't care. I just don't really understand with the idea, or what am I looking for? I don't really get it. And you have a lot of celebrities that are saying, "I'm done with Twitter. I'm not going to be on Twitter. I'm deleting my account. I'm doing all this." These are also the same people that said, if Trump ever became elected president, I'm moving to Canada, or I'm moving out of the country. It's like, first off, you never moved out of the country. And secondly, even if you get off Twitter, if you get off social media, who cares? It's social media. At this point, it's 2022. Biden's been the president for 2 goddamn years. Whether you like him or not, whether you like Trump or not, at the end of the day, it just seems like we just keep going backwards in time and constantly finding things for people to bitch about. And it's 2022. And And newsflash, for tonight's episode, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to say. It's 2022. Why is this still a thing? Like, I don't get it. So, it is what it is. Let's reset, and hopefully I can remember how this show runs, and we can start again. So, sticking with the topic of human pieces of shit, let's move into and discuss Dan Snyder and the owner of the Washington Commanders football team, Redskins, whatever you want to call them. Within the last week or so, week or two, or something like that, he has actively been searching to sell the team. He reached out to a bank. I think it was the Bank of America that he was reaching out to for the Commanders and trying to figure out how to sell off his shares of the company and the organization. And this is coming on the heels of, the alleged emails, the alleged misconduct of taking lewd photos. I don't necessarily know if they were all nudes of the cheerleaders, but lewd photos, poor interactions with other individuals as far as it came to the organization is concerned. So obviously there's speculation about Dan Snyder's true intentions. Again, like I said, with the Bank of America securities to employ all options for the sale of the Commanders franchise. Now, Jay Glazer reported that Snyder is indeed planning on selling the entire franchise, not just portions of his share, so that he would still be majority of in control and getting rid of some of it, but to get rid of all of it. Because it's not a majority stake that we're talking about, raising funds for a new stadium as well, because the stadium aspect of the sale also comes into play. The selling price was always expected to be very high. The asking price allegedly is around $7 billion, which would be a massive return on the investment that Snyder's team bought back. I think he got it for $900 million with two partners at the time. It would also be an NFL record, which other owners would definitely like to see. However, Ian Rappaport reported there had been heavy interest in purchasing this team, and we've already heard about several potential buyers who plan on bidding on said team. The process is expected to be completed as soon as March. Now, if any of the fans had anything to say in this matter, the team would also have the team sold off as of yesterday, if not tomorrow. Because Snyder is doing his very best to embarrass himself and the franchise on his way out. Now, this past Wednesday, it was revealed that the DC Attorney General, Karl Racine, was going to be making a major announcement regarding the organization on Thursday. Fittingly, the Commanders subsequently released a statement, quote, "Less than 3 months ago, a 23-year-old player on our team was shot multiple times in broad daylight. Despite the out-of-control violent crime in D.C. today, the Washington Commanders learned for the very first time on Twitter that the D.C. Attorney General will be holding a press conference to make a major announcement related to the organization tomorrow." So basically, he's directing flames at the Attorney General as it comes out that he's going after DC and the worst of everything. And he's using Robinson as a shield. Robinson being the rookie running back that was shot during an attempted robbery a few months back. It's his way of deflecting a pending investigation. Now, that being said, going back to what I was saying earlier, as far as selling the organization, there are some top names in the celebrity sphere, if you want to call it that, whatever the term would be. Obviously, number one, if you look down the entire line of billionaires, all the way down, like number one is Elon Musk. We already had our conversation about him. Now, number two, Jeff Bezos. So Jeff Bezos, who, which I don't really understand this whole argument or this conversation, but Jeff Bezos, he himself could flat out buy the Commanders outright. I think he is somewhere around $170 billion. So if the organization's going for $7 billion, like that's like $20 to you and me. Like, I mean, that's chump change to him. So I don't really understand why what I'm about to say makes any sense, but somehow Jeff Bezos and former rapper, retired rapper, whatever you want to call him, Jay-Z, are somehow like business partners on the matter and currently looking to purchase the Washington Commanders. Now, on a complete side note, former player Robert Griffin III, RG3, he is also interested in purchasing the team or whatever you want to call it. And he has reached out to the Twitterverse, social media, whatever, and basically kind of, I don't know, created a Green Bay Packers situation where, like, let's have the city own the team. Like, we don't have to have, like, one singular owner. Let's all have a say in the matter. Now, all that's well and good. However, again, I go back to needing a new stadium. So if you're an Eagles fan, if you're watching and you're an Eagles fan, cool. If you're not, then let me paint you a picture. Last season, we had issues down in Washington when their guardrails collapsed and they took out Jalen Hurts, which he was fine. But, like, their stadium is falling apart. It's not a great stadium. It has its own issues. So the question becomes, you know, what's it going to take? Big scheme, grand picture. So we're saying $7 billion. Like the cost of the team itself does not cost $7 billion. It does not. But part of it will cost to have a new stadium made. Now, to have a new stadium made, to buy a new team, to have this whole thing, literally, we just came up with the team this year, which is Washington Commanders. So to be the Washington Commanders, last year, Washington football team, who's to say if you create, or not create, but if you sell off the team and you have a new ownership, a new stadium, new whatever, we could go round 3 with a new name and restart the whole thing. Not saying it won't be not saying like we're going to move out of Washington, but, you know, we could get rid of Commanders because I don't think a lot of the people down in Washington or their fans really enjoy the idea of their name being the Commanders. I know there's a lot of historical wins and championships and everything with the Redskins, but obviously they're not going to stick with the Redskins because it's, you know, PC, and that's the word. Again, like I said earlier in the show, it's 2022. We can't be called that anymore, so we got to figure out something else. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next, but I don't know what that's going to be. All I know is Dan Snyder's a piece of shit, not a good guy, and we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. So, also, he's known across all of the NFL as the GOAT. Now, that being said, Tom Brady might be the greatest of all time when it comes to football. However, marriage is clearly not his strong suit, and that's where things get a little bit iffy. So after 13 years of marriage, NFL superstar Tom Brady and supermodel Gisele Bündchen are finally getting a divorce. Now, I had brought this up on the show months ago. Obviously, it's been since like Labor Day since I've done the show because I had some family issues I had to take care of. But I did start talking about that towards the end of my hiatus, that things were uncomfortable and things were getting weird. So the celebrity couple married back in 2009, and they have 2 children together, Benjamin, 12, and Vivian, 9. Brady also has another son, Jack, at 15, with former girlfriend Bridget Moynihan. Combined, Brady and Bündchen have a reported net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars. Brady returned to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season, weeks after announcing his retirement back in February. In an interview with Elle Magazine back in September, Gisele Bündchen expressed her concerns about Brady returning to football for his 23rd season and his third with the Buccaneers. Brady's Bucks are currently 3-5 this year, I believe, and uncharacteristically, that's a bad record for the quarterback who's won 7 Super Bowls, including 6 with New England Patriots and 1 with Tampa. Now, Gisele Bündchen has made a move. As of, I think, yesterday, she has since said divorce. And now, mind you, I don't even know if they're actually divorced or if they're getting divorced and they're currently separated. I don't actually know the date. But she has made herself some moves, and she's getting a little bit of backlash from fans and people out in the world or whatever. You know, everybody's got something to say when it comes to celebrities. Now, the move that she said, or the move that she made, is that she is currently setting up her brand new home, her homestead, right next to her ex-husband. According to TMZ, Gisele closed on an $11.5 million home in Miami Beach area, right across the creek where Tom Brady is building a house. Sources connected with the former couple say that Tom knew that Gisele was buying the house, and it all has to do with co-parenting to make things easier for the kids to go back and forth. So, number one, if you look this up and you stare at the property. Now, number one, it's not like Tom Brady is bought a home or is having a home built in like your cul-de-sac or your neighborhood. Like, I mean, you're talking about he's probably got like a $50 million home, something like that. Like, I mean, it's astronomical. It's gotta be huge. So, and you can look it up, but it's right on the lake or this waterway. I'm gonna say lake, so we'll just go with that. So if his house is that massive, you're talking about what? Maybe 2 neighbors tops, whatever. It's not like it's your house, my house, whatever, where you have like 7 neighbors directly in your vicinity just looking out your front door. He's by himself. It's whatever. So on the waterway, that creek or lake that I'm saying, on that lake, just across it, is where Gisele just bought her home. So, I mean, if that is to actually potentially make things easier as co-parenting, I mean, think about their kids. Like co-parenting. Oh, mom, I'm gonna go see dad. I'm gonna get on the boat and I'm gonna go over to dad's house. Like that's what that looks like. Their whole idea of co-parenting is so hard for me to understand because I don't live that lifestyle. None of us do. None of us do. Like it's astronomical money. Now, I do have a theory. I read a theory online, and it's an interesting theory that I read online, but mine kind of tips into it briefly. But I think mine makes a little bit more sense than the one I read online. The one I read online talked about the reason that Brady came back out of retirement was that he knew the divorce was coming. He knew that this was happening. And instead of retiring and taking his $375 million 10-year deal with Fox Sports, I think it's Fox Sports. Excuse me. I think it's Fox Sports. Instead of taking that money, he decided, no, let me hold off on that. I'm going to go back to playing football because my divorce is imminent and I don't want that extra income that does not exist in my life yet to somehow be a factor in the divorce. Which, in theory, that's a solid theory. If it was you and me, because you're talking about like, alimony, child support, all that stuff. Now, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, for however many years we've talked about this, everybody, not just on the show, but like everybody, Gisele was the breadwinner in that family, like plain as day. So, are we really trying to hide money from Gisele? Because like it doesn't make sense. I also read that they had a ironclad prenup so that money wouldn't be a factor. So maybe it's child support issues, but when you got these people making like I don't even know what child support would look like for these people, like not even just Brady and Giselle, but like any celebrities that get a divorce that have to deal like quite honestly, I have no idea what any of that looks like. None whatsoever. So my theory that the one that I came up with, which I think makes a little bit more sense, is that the public eye, that the talking heads on ESPN, Fox, whatever sports show that you watch, it became national media probably I don't know, right before NFL season began, right probably like end of August, beginning of September, that they were on the rocks and that there were issues, and then she gave them the ultimatum, like it's me or football, like all this other stuff, and all that's all cute and whatever. But my theory is, just because we found out about it at the beginning of September, doesn't mean that this was a sudden thing. Like, speaking on behalf of somebody that has been divorced, the writing is on the wall. Like, there are things that you see, and it's like, I don't know if we're coming back from that. I don't like, and it just gradually grows, and things, snowball. So, just because we as the American public start finding out back in end of August, beginning of September, does not necessarily mean that this has not been brewing since, let's say, February, when like when they won, or not when they won because they didn't win the Super Bowl last year, but like maybe it's been brewing for a while. When they won the Super Bowl and he's out on the boats and throwing the Lombardi Trophy around, maybe she got pissed off because he was out public drunk and like a crazy man and had to be carried off the boat. Like maybe that's when it started. You never know what's going on. So my theory is, if he knew that this was coming, and he's like, there's no saving this marriage, there's no nothing and whatever, nobody knows about everything. He had already announced his retirement last winter, back in February. So what's to say, like, I know that my marriage is coming to an end. Maybe I retire, try and salvage things. You give it February, March, maybe April, and it's like, nope, there's no salvage things. So he's like, well, fuck it. I'm going back to work. Because quite honestly, and this is no shot at a single mom, this is no shot at a single dad, this is no shot at anybody, this is just my perception. What's to say that he saw the writing on the wall and said, marriage is over. Why am I going to stay retired? I retired so I can be home with my wife and my kids in my house. And now I'm going to be retired and she's leaving, most likely taking the children because, and let's be honest, it's America. It's 2022. I feel like the percentage is very high. I'm going to say like 95% of the time, the mother gets the children. So even though he might be the GOAT, he's not going to get the kids. They go with her. So now he has this gigantic mansion of like $50 million or whatever the case may be. And he's going to retire from football and then spend his whole time in this empty home. I don't know. As a guy, be like, fuck it. Life's already over. There's nothing I can do here. Let me go back to playing ball with the boys. But he also looks like dog shit this year, and their team's not great. So I don't know. Maybe the first theory is right. Maybe he was just trying to hide that money, even though it's public knowledge that money's coming. But maybe he's just like, who knows? I'm sure, because it's public knowledge and because they're celebrities and because they are who they are, maybe it's possible we'll end up hearing things as the time goes on. Next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, end of the season. Who knows? We'll find out. But I digress. It's time to move on to our next topic. So, it's mail time. Boys and girls, let's read your letters and see what questions you've sent in to the show this week. So, mail time. Let's get the... And Booch, if you're watching, once again, I just need to let you know that there's still nothing written on these letters. It's just a prop. But we'll go from there. All right. It's all for the show. You know what I mean? So, moving on. Earlier this week, the Colts fire head coach Frank Wright and then hired former player Jeff Saturday. So what does this mean moving forward for the future players that want to turn coach or head coach or go into coaching? And how will this turn around for the Colts season? So that being said, first and foremost, the final nail in the coffin for the head coach came after the embarrassing loss to the New England Patriots. Jim Irsay decided it was time for them to move on from Frank Reich. And this honestly came after 2 weeks, like less than 2 weeks, after Ian Rappaport had reported that Irsay claimed that Reich's job was safe. So what had changed in that 2 weeks? So for me, I think it's safe to assume, regardless of what's said in the media, what's said to the public eye, for you, Joe Schmo, as the fan, any of the talking heads, anybody in the media, anybody in the NFL, anybody, I think it's safe to assume that the quarterback changeover rate under his watch was a massive issue. I think that was very telling. Also, I think their lack of playoff wins past the wild card round since Reich took over, and then I also think that Jim Irsay, because he guaranteed their organization 2 Super Bowl wins within this decade. So I think all of that collectively was a major red flag. Like, Irsay, like, you set up all these things that need to get done. You set up everything like meet this mark, meet this mark, meet this mark, and you set them so high that I don't think, whether it was Frank Reich or anybody, I don't know if you would be able to meet that. And secondly, as for the hiring of Jeff Saturday, we have seen an interim head coaching hires. However, we've never seen anything like this. Nothing that has ever coupled a candidate from outside of the NFL and lacking any type of coaching resume above the high school level. So to me, it seems like a very serious loophole, or quite honestly, a blatant, like, I don't give a fuck about the Rooney Rule. Now, and for those that, don't really follow the NFL or don't know the ins and outs, the Rooney Rule says that clubs must interview at least 2 diverse candidates from the Career Development Advisory Panel list, or a diverse candidate not currently employed by the club. Clubs must conduct as in-person interview with at least 1 external minority candidate for any GM or head coaching interview. So I think that's also a factor, or a large factor, going into their loophole. Because if you've ever seen Jim Irsay talk, if you've ever seen him like just have a conversation, not necessarily him being interviewed like for this situation, but just on TV ever, the man seems like, and if you're a wrestling fan, he seems like he has the brain capacity of Rob Van Dam with the voice of Macho Man Randy Savage. He just seems like a giant pothead, or very, like, this is how we do things, man, and like, he just seems kind of out of it to me. Now, that being said, do I think Jeff Saturday is a bad idea? I don't know. He's got no coaching experience. I mean, he played in the league for a long time. I think he was, what they say, like close to 20 years, if not more. Like, I mean, he played their center. He was a Colts guy, like, through and through. He's in their Ring of Honor, whatever you want to call it. Like, I mean, he's solid. Like, he's everybody that has spoken about him, he's a leader. He's uh, I think ultimately across the board, whether it's the talking heads, national media, whoever you want to look at, we can look at me on this. It came out of left field. It's kind of weird. Now, that being said, uh, I think the Rooney Rule, as far as this is concerned, is getting a little bit blown out of proportion, only because it's an interim position. Now, if he ends up staying the course and Irsay's like, nope, like you're my guy, you're my new future head coach, like that's what it's going to be. Okay, then you can make the gripe. But I think right now you have people like Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp, and I assume there are others that have really jumped down the throat about Jim Irsay and the Colts, about hiring Saturday out of nowhere. And again, nobody's going to argue that this made any sense. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, man, woman. It has no, like, none of us understand why this happened. But that being said, again, it's an interim head coach half the season. Half the season is done right now. Half. So it's not like he's coming in to this season to what? Like, how's he going to turn around? It's not like he's going to be like, all right, here's the playbook. Throw that away. Here's my new playbook. I just became head coach. Haven't coached my first game yet because that's coming on Sunday. So haven't coached yet, but here's my brand new playbook. Everybody needs to learn these plays. We don't have enough time to run them, but you're going to all learn them, and that's what we're going to run. It's like, no. He's going to run the same playbook that Frank Reich was running. That's what he's going to do. You just hope that he's going to try and find a way to choose play number 18 over play number 2 in that situation. You would think that maybe he reevaluates benching Matty Ice. I don't know. At the end of the day, you just got to figure the whole idea of Jeff Saturday being there is to prevent them from going -2 yards in the first quarter like they did against the Patriots. Either way, it's a Band-Aid on the situation. Now, if you want to make the argument that like this is unfair because it should have been a black man's opportunity, or you could sit there and say, they should have at least interviewed a black man. Again, it's an interim position. The fact that you have Stephen A. and you have Shannon Sharp out there just calling for all the bullshit and all that, it's like, look, take it at face value. Again, this is not me trying to say Rooney Rule's bullshit. I think you should absolutely have a black owner at some point. I think you should have more black coaches than we do currently. But keep in mind, the Colts had Tony Dungy, Super Bowl winning coach Tony Dungy, under the Colts. So you can't take that away from the Colts. Also, piggybacking off of what I just said, if the roles were reversed, because I know Shannon Sharp said I'll paraphrase. Shannon Sharp ended up saying something along the lines of, Jeff Saturday has no experience, nothing past high school, blah, 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 whatever. If the roles were reversed, you would never have this conversation with a black man because you don't have any experience. You're not even my candidate. So that's why it's bullshit. That being said, if the roles were reversed and you hypothetically just gave the interim position to a former black player, I'd still be sitting here going, cool, let's see what happens. Your team's still garbage. I don't really see how you're going to turn the team around based off the playbook you have. But instead of having the animosity right now about a white guy coming in to take over the team instead of a black guy, means it would be postponed until the end of the season because, again, interim. So if you hired a black coach and it's interim at the end of the season, he gets fired, Then it becomes a whole other argument. Oh, well, that's bullshit. You didn't give him enough chance. You didn't give him this. You didn't give that. So at the end of the day, and again, I said this at the beginning of the show, I'm going to be saying it a lot. It's 2022. I don't understand why things are the way they are currently and why we need to bring race into everything. That may be my naivete, but it's one of the things that I just don't really understand. I digress. Let's move on to the next question. Deal? Let's move on. All right. Okay. So moving forward, next question. Do the keys belong to the discretion, or to the keys? Why did I say that? Do the Jets belong in discussion with AFC's best? So basically what that means is looking at AFC, if you're not privy to this show or anything, AFC, we're halfway through the season, has been strong-armed, strong-holded by the Bills and the Chiefs, which everybody sees that. Everybody knows that. Like, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been the Chiefs for, what, 4 or 5 years now? Like, since they won that Super Bowl, like, they between Andy Reid and Patty Mahomes, like, they are just who they are. They're a juggernaut. I'm not saying a dynasty, just a juggernaut. They are just a powerhouse. They're a solid team. And the Bills, we're sitting here watching. Now, mind you, we don't really understand what's going to happen with Josh Allen this week because I know I think they said he's hour to hour. So I don't know what that means for Sunday. I would imagine he's going to be out based off of his injury to his elbow, the ulnar, the UCL, or whatever the fuck they call it. I don't know. But as far as the Jets are concerned, I sit here and say absolutely. I mean, think about it this way. The Jets, Dolphins, Lions, and Browns, and quite honestly, up until last season, the Bengals, usually all of them got stuck with being named as no good. Only because, history. And history repeats itself and it's a tradition. But as we've seen in this league thus far, because quite honestly, this year's teams that were projected to be amazing are dog shit. And then the teams that are, not are actually proving themselves to be better and or great. You have quarterbacks that were expected to perform and have great seasons, yet you're looking at people like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and they're currently looking like it's their time to possibly revisit the idea of retirement. The Jets, they're currently 6-3. They've beat teams like the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Packers, the Broncos, and the Bills last week. Like, this is certainly not the same old Jets. This is certainly not like the history, the tradition of same old Jets. And I think you also have a solid team here that can make a push into playoffs. Right there with even Miami Dolphins as well. Like, the Miami Dolphins, to me, like, that's my AFC team right now. Like, that's, like, yes, it's easy to sit there and say, hey, the Bills, like, that's the juggernaut. That's your Super Bowl winning team. And they might be. But I'm not an AFC guy. I'm an Eagles fan through and through. Love the NFC. So I got to pick a team on the other side of the aisle. Why not choose the Dolphins? They're looking so good. It's not bad. Anyway, digress. I think Jets are way better than people expect. And maybe expect them to keep that up this week. We'll see. All right. Last question for the week as we begin Week 10 slate of games. Okay. Question is, who had the more embarrassing loss last week? The Packers, the Raiders, or the Rams? Great question. Now, I know no matter what I say, I'll probably catch some flack for it because people will disagree with what I have to say. And that's fine because I'm not here to please people. I am just here to say my piece, and that's why the show is called Pardon My Stupidity, because if I'm wrong, then I'm an idiot. So currently, the Packers sit 3-6, the Raiders are 2-6, and the Rams are 3-5. So let's keep in mind that the Raiders had that game won last week up until the fourth quarter. However, the record speaks for themselves. So instantly, I eliminate them out of this conversation immediately because the Raiders are the Raiders. What do you want to? How much do you want to go into in depth with the Raiders? Like it's pointless. Derek Carr's got his own issues, and we'll see how that moves forward. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Now we have the Packers, who were and usually are projected to be a solid team, especially following Aaron Rodgers. Only thing that seems different is them losing Devontae Adams, which should not matter, but somehow it makes their team look more like dog shit based off of losing one guy. And then as far as the Rams are concerned, you're talking about reigning Super Bowl champs, so there's a level of expectation for them to continue to be at that same level as last season. However, the Rams played a struggling Bucks team last week against Brady at the helm, and you'd think like you might have the game won at the end of the day, but it's still Brady, and he's the GOAT for a reason. He doesn't need a lot of time. He doesn't need a lot of things to happen to just turn games upside down. So ultimately, my vote is for the Packers. I think losing to the Lions last week, which I believe puts the Packers on a 5-game losing streak, is quite monumental. I mean, think about it. The Lions are the Lions. Again, I know I just spoke on behalf of the Jets and the Dolphins, but the Lions are the Lions. I think they're sitting at 2 wins on the season, and their second win is against the Packers. So the question becomes, what's happening there? And even Aaron Rodgers in his post game interview said like we shouldn't be losing to a team like that, because even Aaron Rodgers knows the Lions suck. Like they are who they are. So, what's the bigger issue here? Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, he just seems checked out now. Reports sound like his teammates are now starting to have a serious gripe with him. And now this week, they're hoping to turn things around, in theory, at home at Lambeau, but they're going against the 6-2 Cowboys team. Home field advantage can help, but I don't know. I'm not sure there's bringing any life back into this team at all. You understand what I'm saying? We'll see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to topic 5. Man, I think I'm running late tonight. This is getting crazy. Let's reset the time clock and let's move on. Last night began week 10 of the NFL season, and once again, another pitiful showing for a primetime game, especially on Prime TV. So what's the silver lining here? Meaning we have to wait until Monday Night Football, another primetime game, for the only undefeated, undisputed team in the NFL to play. And that's my Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have won all 8 of the football games that they have played this season. Ladies and gents, let's breathe that in. Okay? Take a minute. Breathe that in. 8-0. Undefeated. And even though we have proven ourselves to be that good, to be an undefeated team, to be the team that's sitting at the top of all of the NFL, national media, talking heads, haters, cowboy cockroach fans, all of them keep saying Eagles haven't played anyone, or they had an easy schedule. The combined record of the Eagles' opponents so far, think about this, so far is 25, 36, and 1. Okay? That's a .403 winning percentage. Philadelphia's best opponent was the Vikings, sitting at 6-1, who lost to the Eagles 24-7. The only other team the Eagles have played with a winning record is Dallas, which fell to Philly 26-17. Now, keep in mind, I'm not trying to say we haven't played winning teams. But when that schedule came out, when everybody looked at that schedule, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I looked at that whole schedule and said, all right, you figure you split with a couple of guys in the division, this, that, and the other thing. I'm sitting there going, all right, well, we're probably looking at like 5-6 losses. Okay? 5-6 losses. It's not our fault that, it's not the Eagles' fault that, Green Bay sucks, or that Redskins decided that Carson Wentz was their guy and they suck, or, Vikings gave a hell of a performance. So did Jacksonville. It's not our fault that the Texans, there's so many things that you can sit there, but the fact that they keep going back and forth with, oh, we haven't played anybody, we haven't done anything. The Eagles' schedule gets way tougher in the second half, with 2 games against the Giants, 2 games against 2 games against Giants, 1 game against Dallas, and a potentially difficult home game against the Titans, who are currently 5-2. The combined record of their second half opponents is 33-29-1. And again, I keep bringing up the 1 because we have to play the Colts, going back to the Frank Wright situation, which is now Jeff Saturday, and I still look at that as a win. We'll wash that away. You just hope that if you're a Colts fan, you just kind of hope that you don't get smashed in the mouth too bad. And naturally, the narrative has changed from they haven't played anyone on their schedule who is weak to now, can they really go undefeated? So at the end of the day, when it comes to these conversations about the Eagles, when it comes to these conversations about Philly as a whole, because as we've always stated, no one likes us, we don't care. Well, I care. It's starting to bother me. And when I get to my next topic, I'm going to really dive into why it bothers me. But at the end of the day, end of the day, I stand by Howie Roseman, which made its rounds on social media, his video, walking around, he's like, oh, you forgive me? You forgive me? I got you your only Super Bowl. Fuck you. Let's go. No one likes us. Fuck you. It is what it is. You guys want to chastise us? You want to come after us? I'm tired of hearing it. How about put some respect on our name? You know what I mean? At the end of look at the Patriots. Patriots haven't had Tom Brady for however many seasons. But, Bill Belichick is still Bill Belichick. And their team is garbage. Oh, yeah, but, they looked pretty good last week. So what? If they went 8-0, you guys would be sucking their dick. But unfortunately, they're not, and you still give them excuses as to why they're a solid team because of Bill Belichick. The Eagles are 8-0, the only team undefeated. You want to give us a hard time about being undefeated? That's fine. Give us a hard time back in week 4, week 5. We're now 8 weeks in. Well, 9 weeks in because we had the bye. But we're 9 weeks in, still undefeated, and we still don't get any love. And it's annoying. But I digress. Let's move on to the next topic. And that's fine because that brings me to sticking with Philadelphia. It's time to say goodbye to our fighting Phils after a solid turnaround season and explosive postseason run. The last time I did this show was Labor Day weekend. We were winding down the regular MLB season in hopes our Philadelphia Phillies would possibly take a wild card spot. And now here we are, almost a week removed from losing Game 6 of the World Series. You want to talk about a true underdog story? I mean, a real Cinderella moment for these guys. Yes, I understand that the Philadelphia Phillies should never have been there. I hands up. I stand by it. As a friend of mine would say, hand to God. I thought we would take that wild card spot and probably lose in the first round, only because I believe the Mets and the Braves were that much better than us and we didn't stand a chance. But I sit here and I digress. I was way off. I was way wrong. They battled. They played their hearts out. And I was in the wrong. But there are many things to be proud about, such as the only team in playoffs to actually cut the Astros. Not once, but twice. You figure Astros went into playoffs completely undefeated by the time they came to us. They swept the Yankees. The Yankees. Yankees, Yankees, Yankees. First off, the only thing the Yankees had going on for themselves going into playoffs was that Aaron Judge had his home run number increasing, increasing, increasing. The team itself was falling flat. And I know a lot of Yankees fans are going to be upset about hearing that or hearing me say that, but that's fine. I'm not saying anything that's not true. So, games 1 and 3, that was for us. Those were ours. And they put us in a prime spot to possibly take the series. However, Astros, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, depending on what part of the country you're at, they were the better team. Always had been, always will be, and it's proven. They were the best team in baseball. And in fact, like I said, we can sit here and nitpick we can sit here and argue our yanking our starting pitcher in the 6th inning or lack of run support from JT or Castellanos. But the fact remains, we were just lucky to have been there. And the fact that we made something of it while being there, that's what's important. Because you can sit there and look at the guys. I think there was a report where it was Schwarber, Hoskins, Castellanos, JT, maybe a couple other guys, at the end of that game, sat in the locker room or clubhouse, whatever you want to call it, sat in a circle, drinking some beers, just reminiscing about the great season. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, congrats to those boys. And a major hell yeah to Topper. I mean, Rob Thompson took over the helm of this team back in July when they fired Girardi. When he was fired, the team was 22-29 with a record, and they end up finishing the season under Rob Thompson at 87-75. And fuck, they ended up in the fucking World Series. Guys, that is an impressive feat. However, I circle back to my last topic, which was when I was talking about the Eagles, when I was talking about national media and nobody liking Philly. And here it is again, against the Philadelphia Phillies. So my issue is, and I think this is why I took so much issue, is because at no point in my existence, I'm 37, at no point in my existence have I ever seen the Eagles and the Phillies both at the top of their game at the same time. Never have I ever seen that. Now, you guys can comment and tell me I'm wrong, but I don't ever remember seeing that. So, I guess I'm just used to people shitting on the Eagles when we're doing well. It's all right, whatever. Or I'm used to people shitting on the Phillies when we're doing well. It's all right, whatever. But the fact it was happening at the same time, Eagles shouldn't be 8-0. They're not playing anybody. They haven't played anybody. They got the easiest schedule in the NFL. Well, fuck you. And at the same time, I'm catching it from baseball. Oh, well, the only reason the Phillies are there is because they lucked out into that extra wild card spot. Okay, well, that's not the Phillies' fault. That's Major League Baseball that created these rules. Which, by the way, if that's what pissed you off, get ready for next season when they add the pitch timer and enlarge the bases and they put in the pie slice rule. If you're pissed off about rules in baseball and you're coming after the Phillies, you got a lot of other issues. Next season, you might as well just quit watching baseball. But you got people arguing that, oh, well, the Phillies shouldn't be there. Right. Okay, well, I would agree that their season was not spectacular. It was not amazing. But we're sitting there playing the Braves in the playoffs, and the Braves fans are like, oh, they shouldn't be here. This is an outrage. I'm sorry. Did you or did you not just win the World Series with only 85 wins last season? So what do you think, you're better than me? You think you're better than our team? Go fuck yourselves. That's what this is. You guys are you're all a bunch of fucking hypocrites. At the end of the day, you just don't want to see Philadelphia in there. And that's fine. You can then say that. Say, I just don't like the Phillies. Fine, then say that. But at the end of the day, don't say they don't belong there. Because last I checked, beat the Braves, beat the Cardinals, beat the fucking Padres, and we were the only team to take 2 wins off the Astros. So don't tell me we don't belong there. That was a phenomenal ending to the season. At the end of the day, those guys need to hold their heads up high and be very goddamn proud. Which, and I don't have a lot of time to go over this because I'm running late on my show, but like I would love to sit here and discuss potential future Wall of Famers based off this World Series team. I would love to have that conversation. Obviously, you're going to sit there and be like, "Yep, Bryce Harper," but I'm not talking about the obvious. I'm, Hoskins, JT, Castellanos, Nola, Wheeler. Like we could have this debate, but I'll save that for another day. You know what I mean? Like, let's end of the day. It's just, I know I'm supposed to believe in nobody likes us, we don't care, but I don't know. I care a little bit, and it pissed me off. Moving on. All right, so the Nets have suspended Kyrie Irving indefinitely after his anti-Semitic movie post. Irving posted a link to an anti-Semitic movie last week, but had not apologized until hours after the Nets had suspended him for a minimum of 5 games. They called him, quote, unfit to be associated with the team, end quote, because he had declined to say that he had no anti-Semitic views in the week since he posted the link on Twitter to a film with hateful claims about Jewish people. Which, side note, again, going back to the very first topic I brought up today about Elon Musk taking over Twitter, I just feel like there is way too much. Like, first off, I'm not agreeing with Kyrie. I'm not standing by Kyrie. I'm not defending Kyrie. I think Kyrie's a giant piece of shit, not just for this, but in general. Like, his whole career speaks for himself. He's a very me person. What I am going to say is I just think when it comes to social media, number one, anything on social media is probably not good. Like, and I say that as I am broadcasting to social media. But I feel like if you are a celebrity, if you are somebody in the know, whether it's acting, any type of sports, whatever, you will be scrutinized for anything and everything you ever say. So the fact that he would post something on social media, obviously this was Twitter, but even if it was Instagram, Facebook, whatever, it doesn't matter. Again, going back to the ongoing theme, it's 2022. Like, what were you thinking? But I digress. The film called Hebrews and Negroes Wake Up Black America is driven by an anti-Semitic trope about Jewish people lying about their origins. The movie's false and outlandish claims are about Jews include the assertion that the Holocaust never happened. In the past week, the NBA and its players' union released statements condemning anti-Semitism without naming Kyrie Irving. The Nets owner said in a tweet that he was, quote, disappointed with Irving and would speak to him privately. In a statement released with the Anti-Defamation League on Wednesday, Irving and the Nets said that they would each donate up to $500,000 to unspecified causes and organizations that combat hate in their communities. The NBA has penalized players for hate speech in the past. Minnesota Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards was fined $40,000 back in September for using homophobic language in a video that he had posted on social media. Back in March of 2021, the league fined Myers Leonard of the Miami Heat $50,000 and suspended him for 1 week because he had used an anti-Semitic slur while playing a video game on a live stream. Miami also suspended him for 2 days while the NBA investigated. Since then, the Heat have quickly traded Leonard to OKC, which they in turn released him about a week later. No team has signed him since then. So that being said, it's 2022. At what point do you as a player, you as a public figure, you as a whoever, do you not understand that it's racism's not okay? Sexism, not okay. Ageism, not okay. Discrimination about your sex, gender, your religion, all of it, not okay. Like, I don't understand why this has to be a thing that you need to apologize for because you're wrong. Like, just be a goddamn human being. 2022. Like, I'm older than most of you people. I'm 37. I learned this stuff back in the fucking 80s. And you guys can't come to terms with it? Oh, well, I didn't think anything. You're being fucking ignorant. And the same goes for Kanye West, too. Apparently, Kanye West did some anti-Semitism rant or whatever, and people were pissed off about him. Like, first off, I don't even understand why people are pissed off at Kanye for saying something anti-Semitism. Or anti-Semitic, I should say. I don't even understand why people are pissed off about him. The fact that you guys give him a platform to talk on is ridiculous. Just be done with him. Walk away. He hasn't had anything good, relevant in this world since back in, like, what? 03? 04? Oh, that was his last album. Anybody else that wants to argue that, come find me. Leave your comments in the post, like, right here. I'm all game for it because that dude's fucking nuts. So it's 2022. You're going to sit here and just bash whatever, say whatever, do whatever. Like, stop. Just stop. Not worth it. Move on. Social media is toxic. And now you're starting to learn that these players are toxic. And I can't wait. I cannot wait until one of these players sit there and say, well, I'm not a role model or this is not my platform. Because then that would totally counteract everybody else across every sport, everything that is in the public eye to say, no, we have a duty and a right to the platforms that we are given, which also, no, you don't. You don't have a right to do a goddamn thing. I don't care if you're fucking Brad Pitt. Just because you're Brad Pitt doesn't give you the right to tell me what your politics are or what you believe. Like, I don't care. I pay to go watch your movies. Shut up. I don't want to hear you talk. Same goes for all the athletes. LeBron, you fucking suck. Your whole team sucks. You're garbage. You're nothing. But by all means, tell me why you stand up for Kyrie Irving. I would love to hear it. What, you shave your head and now you're like one with everybody? Shut the fuck up. All of you. All of you. Done with it. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to the end of the show here, which brings me to the Late Show omissions. And timer, let's go. All right, Late Show omissions. This is the time where I quickly throw out a few stories that I didn't really have a lot of time to discuss in full length because obviously I just got really passionate about a bunch of pieces of shit on the show tonight. So sticking with a bunch of pieces of shit tonight, we'll go back into another one. So Brett Favre is a giant piece of shit, right? This man has not only ruined his legacy as a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's going out in a fiery plane crash. My man is tied to one of the craziest scandals, and it seems like week after week, it somehow gets even worse. So here's a quick recap of the entire story in case you don't know. Back in May of 2020, the Department of Human Services wasted tens of millions of dollars in federal welfare grant funds through misspending, personal use, and spending on family members, friends of staffers, and grantees. The 8-month-long investigation showed that the department gave more than $98 million to two nonprofits, the Mississippi Community Education Center and the Family Resource Center of North Mississippi. Of the $98 million, $94 million was, quote, questioned, meaning it was either definitively misspent or auditors were unable to determine if it was legally spent. One of the recipients of these funds was Brett Favre, the Hall of Fame quarterback and Mississippi native. According to the audit, the Mississippi Community Education Center directly paid him $1.1 million in TANF funds for promotional ads and speaking appearances that the state auditor said never occurred. Favre returned $500,000 back in May of 2020 and repaid the remaining $600,000 in October of 21 after the state auditor issued a demand letter for it, according to the auditor's office. But the auditor's office maintains that Favre still owes $228,000 in interest payments. Favre has said that he had been asking for the state for funds to build a new volleyball stadium at the University of Southern Mississippi, where he played football from 1987 to 1990. And his daughter played volleyball there from 2017 all the way up until recently, 2022. The media outlet Mississippi Today, which has covered this weird Ponzi scheme for the last several years, has reported that at least $5 million of the welfare funds were channeled to the new facility. Favre denied any wrongdoing and said he did not know that the funding was supposed to go toward needy families. Then, all of a sudden, his text receipts were released, basically showing that Brett Favre, as the instigator, asking about whether or not the media or public would ever know about the deal and where the money came from. Then, recently, another bombshell regarding Brett Favre was published this past Tuesday, stating that 2 concussion drug companies that Favre backed had, quote, overstated their NFL connections and exaggerated the known effectiveness of their drugs during efforts to raise money. Just so you're aware, the drug companies he's talking about claim to be a cream that you would, like, a moisturizing cream or something like that, that you could apply to your neck or head to prevent concussions. The companies Prevacus and Preso MD and their founder, Jake Von Landigna, received more than $2.1 million in state welfare funds from the Mississippi government. A civil lawsuit alleges this. So basically, this guy is a scumbag, and he's pretty much fucked at this entire point. I really am not sure how anyone, not him, not the senators, not the governor, not anybody, I'm not sure how anyone skates through this untouched. Then again, let's see what's behind curtain number 3 when next week rolls around. Who knows? And then lastly, we'll end the show because I know Casey, who has been on the show before, sister of mine, love her to death. This is for you. Lastly, Nick Cannon is an expecting father yet again. But that's not the weird part of that sentence. This man is knocking up chicks left and right, and it's really kind of fucking bizarre. And what's even weirder is a bunch of it happened between now and my last show at Labor Day weekend. So here's a quick little timeline as to what happened with Nick Cannon and his sperm since I was last on the show. On September 14th, Cannon welcomed his 9th child into the world. A week later, he welcomed his 10th child into the world. At the beginning of November, mind you, today's only Veterans Day. It's only the 11th currently. He announced that baby 11 is on its way. And then just the other day, like today's Friday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, probably Wednesday, he just announced that baby 12 is right after that. All of these kids are from 6 different women. Like, he's legit the black version of that show Sister Wives. Like, someone needs to get this Brady Bunch of a family a reality show. Because I'm sure some of my viewers, guaranteed, like, they would be glued to whatever this train wreck of a show could end up being. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's wild. So, let's move to end credits. Nobody commented tonight, so I don't have any final thoughts. So anyway, thank you all for listening. Sorry I ran for closer to an hour instead of 30 minutes. That's what happens when I go out drinking in honor of my dad before the show. Thank you for tolerating me. But I'm, as I say, right here. I'm out of time. That's all I got for you guys this week. Hopefully, I can do a better job next time. Make sure you follow PMS on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit that subscribe button to stay alert to all of my videos. And you can find the podcast on iTunes and, of course, on iHeartRadio. Just open up your smart device and say, play Pardon My Stupidity on iHeartRadio. I'll see you clowns next time. And to all the veterans out there tonight, thank you very much for your service. Have a good night.